Alright guys, welcome to another video with me, Hamza Shaikh. We're out here in sunny London, and today we're going to be asking the public questions about architecture. And the question we're going to be asking in this video is, what would happen if architects never existed? This could be really funny, but it's also quite a deep question to wonder about, you know? If there were no architects, what would happen to life and the urban fabric around us? Let's go. What would happen if architects never existed?
We'd all be like living in like huts, or we'd all be living outside. Like we'd all have like sleeping bags and would be living.
Would you like that?
No, you need your own space, innit?
I kind of like sleepovers though.
No, but say you get like angry with your family or your friends and they're always there, like you wouldn't want that. You need to be in a confined space to yourself.
So you're saying if we didn't have architecture, we wouldn't have solid structures around us, we'd all be camping on the floor.
Yeah.
Good answer. Yeah, still a good answer. What would happen if architects never existed?
Well, as Priyank said, architecture is kind of the interaction with people and buildings. So I think what we'd have is an infrastructure of just absolute shite.
And buildings would be like just blocks, like no design, just more functional rather than design again. That's it.
Okay, that's a really good answer. Everything would just be like blocks.
Council estates, for example, and there's no imagination, there's no thought gone into the design, there's no longevity in the design process. It's just
You're not an architecture student.
No, but I'm very self-aware, and this makes a big difference. I'm very self-aware. Okay.
What would happen if architects never existed? What would the world look like?
I don't think that is possible because there would not be definition of what is private and public space. And in the moment that you divide the property in the sense of, okay, it's part of the society, is in the moment that you are making the division. Therefore, you need people that design how the people should live in the spaces and how you use the space for the human needs.
That's amazing. Okay, so this is a really interesting concept because are you sure you're not in the profession of architecture?
I'm not at all. I'm
Okay. Because what she's saying is that if there's it wouldn't even be possible for there to be no architects. And I would say the same thing. And the reason is because the role of the architect is somewhat a natural role, to be able to take charge of the built environment and to be able to design it and manipulate. So your answer is actually, I'm not just saying this to make you feel good.
No, and there is no need, you know.
Your answers are really advanced. I'm quite surprised, but this is why we wanted to do this video, because to see what the public think is amazing.
I think that basically what architecture maybe do is basically set up limits. When you build something, you are putting a limit over here till here. So that you are defining an unconscious way of how the society is displayed.
She's talking about constraints. This is insane. You're very advanced thinking in architecture. What would happen if architects never existed?
We'd be stuck in caves. We had that already?
We would get what we have in Soviet Eastern Europe with the very interesting buildings there. I think I'm from Hungary, so we have a lot of these gorgeous blocks that they built. So probably something around that, where it's only practical, only for use, not very pretty for the eyes.
Amazing answer. Seriously, great answer.
I suppose caves are the most natural, habitable structures. And without an architect, we wouldn't have a man-made structure to live in.
It's a bit deep, isn't it? I mean, like, because it's been around since like pyramids and Roman times as well. So like, you'd have to like think, I don't know, mate. Evolution would be at a standstill, really. Like, just being like.
So we'd still have pyramids.
No, not even, mate. We'd be so far like further back than that, wouldn't we? Like, even like ancient Amazonian like industries and stuff like that. Like, I don't know if you like. Do you ever watch Joe Rogan podcasts and stuff? Yeah. Like,
I've got a podcast, 2 Walls Design. Make sure you're listening to those episodes.
Yeah, yeah, they talk about like lidars and like using lidar to like find like ancient like ruins and stuff in like the Amazon. So there's like ancient societies that are just like, and they're like huge, colossal like stones and stuff that have been like laid out to like see the stars and stuff like that. So I don't know. I feel like evolution would be just like screwed at that point without architects and stuff.
Well, when I was saying we'd be in caves, I was being slightly facetious. I was suggesting
No, it's a good answer.
We live in like either naturally existing structures or very simple structures like boxes, for example. Or I think that the world would be less beautiful without architects.
Good answer. I like that. And what do you think?
I don't know if anything will work because, like I said, I said that architecture is like engineering. Well, that's what I thought, as well as design. So, like, would a bridge hold up? You know?
Okay. Well, look, I'm going to push back on that and say there are structural engineers who would make sure that stuff works, right? They would make sure that, things, you can walk on it, the weight is right, it's not going to break down. But then architects would control the design aspect of it. Okay, so now take that bridge example. Structural engineers exist, architects don't. Is there any difference, or is it still be all right?
Well, I guess it would look like blocks. Everything would just be functional. It wouldn't work. I don't know. I guess the city would just look strange.
All right, so you guys are matching that answer. Nice one. So if we look at this building right now, that wouldn't exist if they weren't architects, or do you think some people could have pulled that off?
It's difficult. I think architecture spawned from art, basically. You look at a piece of art on the wall and you see, you ask 10 different people, you get 10 different answers. What the artist initially wanted to create, and then what people perceive that to be. And in this case, for like the cathedral, religion is the main thing. They're trying to get religion across, but the artist obviously created something so beautiful within that. And I think if you ask someone who's not interested in that subject, say for example Ryan here, you just get a building that's fit for purpose. And I think that's what you'd find if architecture wasn't around. It would just be fit for purpose. There's nothing else about it, nothing to grain people into a direction or get people thinking differently. It's just, here's your house, live in it. So that's why.
Amazing. Priyank, you got to live up to that again, mate. What would happen if architects never existed? If we just got wiped off the earth, what would the world look like?
Well, off the cuff, I think buildings would be quite boring. I think they'd be very sort of flat. I think buildings are then a sort of an expression of the architecture at work. So I mean, if you take the Barbican, that's stuck in a time warp, say in the 60s. I mean, that was a sort of it's sort of public council housing, but then the new government came in and it basically became private.
How do you know this? Say that again.
He just loves this. He just loves it.
Sort of random YouTube videos that I end up watching that tell me about this stuff. A bit like Thamesmead as well. Like, it was built for a purpose and it's sort of been stuck in a time warp. I guess like buildings are sort of a blank canvas for architects to sort of go ham really with. But yeah, I think every building would probably look the same if you didn't have sort of like individuals working on each.
We haven't had that answer yet of every building would look the same, but that's a seriously good answer, and you can't steal it. So what would happen if architects never existed?
So I'll just put it out there. Imagine Milton Keynes, right? You basically have Milton Keynes everywhere. Blocks, buildings that are just square in size and then do exactly, as Jay said, do exactly what they need to do and that's it. There'd be no sort of artistic creation to it, I believe. But then, if there's no architects, there's always something else.
But the thing is, like, if there were no like nicely designed buildings, does that mean our quality of life would be affected? Because, to some degree, someone could sit there and say, okay, I can easily design and create a program that's going to work for the brief, which is, it could be, the program for like creating a public school with all these retail kind of programs here. Anyone could do that, right?
Yeah, to an extent. I think what architects bring to a table is it's not about like just creating a building and everything. Obviously anyone can do that, as you said. The architecture brings the art into it to an extent. So there's that creative mindset that, okay, we do need to make it functional, but we also need some character to it. And that's what the architects can bring to the table.
What would happen if architects never existed?
Fuck knows. I have no idea.
Okay, think about it this way, right?
Well, there wouldn't be anything like this.
Say that again?
There wouldn't be anything like this.
What would be here instead?
Nothing.
Just be like
It would just be like
plain.
mud.
Say again?
Just be like mud and grass.
Good answer. this would just be mud and grass.
I don't know, it'd be pastoral, wouldn't it? It'd be like rural areas and stuff. Like we wouldn't really be like cities and stuff like that. I don't think there'd be like alleyways and subways and stuff like that, would there? So it'd just be like a really like basic civilization.
It's a really interesting answer. Again, you do not have to answer so deep. He's starting to warm up now, isn't he?
Take it away. No, I just think it would be really underdeveloped, quite plain, basic. That's it.
Good answer.
And I think basically there would be no like historical significance to anything. So even if you look around London, like everything's got its own kind of history of why it's there, building wise. And like he was talking about, like certain buildings have got their sort of cultural significance, and that's you'd miss that from a place.
Wow. So are you saying to some degree that us new architects have to draw on the past to create effective or culturally appropriate buildings today? Is that what you mean?
Not necessarily draw on the past, but I think the buildings that are made today are going to have that relevance because they draw upon the cultural things that are going on at the time and the influences that they draw upon. Yeah, I think they have their own cultural influences as time goes on.
Okay, so just to clarify, if there weren't architects, the buildings would...
There'd be no cultural, what's the word? Diversity, that's the word.
Got you.
In buildings, that's the word, forgot.
Got you. Okay.
I just think everything would look a lot more plain and a bit boring, to be honest. And probably people with not the required levels of knowledge will try doing some sort of designs. And we'd have a lot of buildings collapsing, probably.
Good answer. That's a really good answer. That's one of the best answers I've heard. No offense, but that's definitely a top answer.